six straight
I'm
up.
oh, sorry, I
Alrighty.
was doing computer stuff. That's as high
Are
as
you
I can
good? Are you
go.
ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Jason,
I'm Carol.
and this is the Weekly Vomit.
And tonight, our topic is today's rant, as we say, Earth, flat or fiction?
Mm. Where are all the flat earthers?
Oh, they've already started rolling in. I can see it. I can see them, but I think they will
Absolutely.
roll in more. I think as time
Good.
goes on. And I had a little conversation with my parents about it because they were asking about the show, and I was like, "Well, tonight's topic is flat Earth," and they just started laughing. So there's your answer to that.
There's your answer to that. Well, I mean, so one of the things I think we should kind of started at the origin of it all because it's rooted in folklore history, but it's one of those things that has just kind of, I guess, resurfaced as being, some popular notion in the age of science lies to everyone, so they're probably lying to us about this as well.
Right.
Um, and there's a lot of things that go into, they've tried to test this theory. They've done that, the light theory, they've done the thing with the laser and the two scopes, and they place them at different distances on the globe, and if the earth is completely flat and relative, then those lights should intersect perfectly. They should, like, boom, like this, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't, and that's kind of disappointing. And there's a lot of their stuff gets busted. It never quite makes it. And, like, one of the things that you and I mean, look, I'm willing to buy the idea that it's potentially flat. And you and I have talked about this, Carol. If someone could just tell us if it's flat, where the hell are we if it's flat?
That's exactly.
Where is it?
Where is it?
Where? Are we
If
on
it's
God's
and then
desk?
people are like,
Where are we?
and they can never answer it because they're always like, "Well, it's a ball." Okay, like, oh, it's like somebody. A friend of mine said, "Well, it's like a snow globe. There's a thing around it, and sorry, sorry about that, and there's a snow globe around it." And I'm like, "Okay, again, where is it?" And somebody said to me was it last night? Last night in my live, they said, "Well, I believe it's an infinite plane." Well, if it's an infinite plane, then it would take up everything, and that's all we would see. But that's not all we see. We see
Right.
stars, we see planets, we see the moon, we see the sun. Therefore, it is not an infinite plane. So, and
Right.
then, here comes the argument, the firmament. The
Yes.
firmament
And
argument.
what is the firmament? Now, they would say, those that believe in the dome theory, that the firmament is the dome itself, which is where the
Mhm.
projection of the sun, moon, and stars is present. So, however, there are different interpretations of the firmament,
Right.
right?
And I personally do not believe that the atmosphere is the firmament. And I'm just waiting for anyone to come in here and try to challenge this
Right.
because
Right.
honestly, like, I have everything here. I have the Bible here for your Bible arguments. I have a video here. I have the lost books of the Bible here. I mean, come on now.
Right. Well, again, what is it exactly that makes it I'm curious as to why it's so popular. Is it just because the anti-science movement is so popular?
I don't know because a lot of these people have taken really a lot of time. Like, I've seen some videos because I promised my followers that I would, anytime a firmament video came up or a flat earth video came up, I would watch it. And some of these people have really gone above and beyond. I mean, they're like putting rope up in their house and putting planets on it and saying, well, if you pull the camera back this way, this happens. And it's just crazy. And here we go. How come the moon fits exactly over the sun? Because they're at different distances away. And
Well,
you
to
can
that,
do that as an experiment. You could do that as an experiment in
right.
your house with light. So
And
that's
to
not
that,
it's not that odd.
and to that point though, uh, the moon is a bit of an oddity because the moon's okay. If the moon was slightly closer to the Earth or slightly further away from the Earth, it wouldn't perfectly block the sun during an eclipse. So it is remarkably, like almost astronomically perfectly placed so that it completely creates an eclipse when it comes between the earth and the sun, when the moon does. So that, but now there are those that say that the moon, in the moon, by the way, our moon is an unnatural, like it's not an unnatural for other planets to have moons, but to have one the size of ours is unusual. It's freaking huge. And on top of that, there are, if we're going to talk about folklore, there are those that have said the moon didn't exist at one time, that it was towed here. So there's ancient legends that have been written about how this planet didn't have a moon hundreds of thousands of years ago and that it was brought here.
I'm
And
willing
then,
to go with that. I'm willing to
right,
go with that. But I mean, I'm even willing to go with, hey, that's no moon. It's a space station. I
sure,
mean, I'm willing to go for that. But
you
it's
couldn't
that
pick a better
doesn't,
place.
right. It doesn't prove flat Earth. It just proves that we have a mechanical moon.
Right.
That doesn't mean anything to me. It has no bearing on flat Earth. Other than people saying, well, the moon causes tides, but that could even be explained if it was a
Well, where
mechanical
do,
moon.
that's a good question. If it is a flat earth and there is no moon and it's a projection with the sun, where do the tides come from?
Well, if the moon is in the way of the projection of the sun, then it would still explain the tides. So,
It wouldn't if those bodies didn't exist. According to the flat earthers, those bodies don't exist, they're projections. That the
okay,
entire
so
sun and moon and sky on the firmament is nothing more than a projection. They're not real.
so then yeah, where do the tides come from? They have to come from
Right.
underground and under the water, where the real firmament actually is.
The inner earth is the theory you're discussing at this point.
Yep, because
Right.
the real firmament is under the water, and it says, now the original word used was firmament, and I don't have all of my Bibles here because many people in here know I have several Bibles of all different um, things, but it literally, it's Genesis 3 is their big argument. It's always the big argument. So I'm going to do it in, this is the Jesus Bible. So it doesn't have the word firmament in here, but the original Bible we know uses the word firmament, as far as
Right.
I know, at least some. And it says, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that the light was good. And God separated the light from darkness. God called the light day, and he called it night. And there was evening, and there was morning. That's the first day. And God said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters.
Waters from the waters.
Right. And then it says God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters and that were above the expanse, and it was so. And God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. Now, when you get to verse 8, people are like, oh, God called the expanse heaven, so the firmament must be the atmosphere. But nobody knows what's underneath the firmament that's under the water. That could actually be heaven.
Right.
So, and God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let dry land appear. So I have the video that shows the guy who was in a submarine and accidentally found the firmament under a lake. And then 2 days later, he got it. He found it. It's televised. And 2 days later, he died suddenly.
Of course he did. Yeah, of course he did.
he magically suddenly, I think like his helicopter crashed or something. Sounds very Kobe Bryant to me.
Right.
Okay. But I'm going to show that video. So hold on, you guys. I'm going to show you guys the videos because it'll make the conversation so much more interesting. Boom. Okay. Can you guys see it?
You know, I just thought about this. I'm not sure that's going to work with the screen on because your face isn't in it. So I'm not sure that's going to work. We may just have to listen to it.
Oh, let's just listen to it then.
So bring your face back in so we can see you, and then let's just listen to it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just listen to it.
Okay.
Because the guy actually has some interesting things to say. I do have the speaker on, so you should be able to hear it. So here we go.
One of the most amazing things I had ever seen in the bottom of the ocean. It was while filming for Blue Platters in the Gulf of Mexico. And inside the ring of mushrooms was a lake. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm already underwater. We went out over the water in this lake and tried to descend it and bounced off. It was so super saline and dense that the submarine couldn't go down it. We literally bounced off. And as we bounced off, we sent ripples heading back to the shoreline. It was insane. I've never seen anything like it.
Coincidentally, a few days after this aired on the television that he had made this discovery, when him and his friend were flying the helicopter.
Okay, so it's just that little tiny bit. Did you guys hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know why the speaker didn't work, but as long as you heard it. So
I heard it.
basically, you guys can look this up. It's man finds water underwater, then dies. So
Right.
basically, they're under the water, and it's actually video film of it, obviously, footage of it. The guy's under the water. He's in one of those little submarines. They're going along, and they look down, and there's an actual shore, a shoreline that looks doesn't look anything like our beaches and our shorelines up here. It doesn't look like that. It's like a completely different architecture of the shoreline. And yeah, sure, Chad. And we basically, he tried to go down into it to see what it was, and they bounced off of the firmament. That's the firmament. That is the firmament.
Beneath us, not above. So you could see how it could be misconstrued. At some level, right? I mean, there's a barrier of some sort.
Well, it clearly says to separate the water from the water.
Right. And they do know, science has claimed that there is a giant ocean that is beneath us. The planet has more water on it than we suppose. There are also many, and there's several entry points. You know, down in Antarctica, there is this giant, what looks like a giant sinkhole. I mean, it's a giant sinkhole. And there was this, so apparently at one of the stations, someone had been injured and they needed to fly a military craft to go pick up this person.
Uh-huh.
And in order to get there, they had to take this specific path. But they knew they could save time if they flew the more direct route, which they were forbidden to do. And there was all kinds of bullshit excuses like, oh, it's going to disrupt the weather recording instruments, blah, 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 blah. So they end up flying directly over instead of taking that path. And when they did, they discovered this giant sinkhole in this, looked like it was in the snow, but it was wider than a football field. I mean, you could fly right into it. It was so big.
Mm-hmm.
And when they got there, they picked up the guy, they turned around, they started to fly back in that path, and then they were ordered to move to the original path that they were. They're like, if we go to that path, this guy's not going to make it. Well, he ended up dying, and they all got reprimanded hardcore. They are never supposed to go that way again. They had bigwigs come in and start talking with them about all this shit, saying, you know, you're never supposed to, do not ever discuss anything that you've ever seen. It was just years ago. So, but now they're coming out and people are talking about it, but there are probably multiple entry points to an underground. And the underground type of world is also not a new. They discussed it, and there were things that were said to have existed in the Library of Alexandria about this stuff, which obviously burned, and much ancient knowledge was lost. So maybe over time, the idea or the rebirth of the idea of a firmament, a flat Earth, and you know what? Now think about this for a minute too. I'm just hypothetical on this one. Like, let's say you are under in an underground world, right? So you'd have to question, you wouldn't have a problem with heat or energy of that way. You might have a problem with light, but that could come through ice sheets and things like that in certain areas. But I guess if you existed there, your world might be remarkably flat. I mean, it's not like so I'm just trying to understand where the two theories come together. You know what I mean? Like where is it where the idea of the flat Earth in the universe concept, which I'm completely lost on, because you just have to explain to me where the hell we're at. Okay, we're a snow globe. Where the hell is the snow globe? Just give me an answer. And then the other thing would be is it a combination of theories? This is a combination of the underground theory combined with their perception of the world, because it's not going to be vast. The underground firmament can't necessarily be that vast. It might be, but maybe it's more like pockets, like something the size of states, you know, and that's big, but it's not like vast like the surface of the Earth.
Well, I mean,
So
to
me, it's
I would think it depends on what you're talking about, because if you're going to start getting into the underground Earth, then you're gonna, you know, it bleeds into other theories. Bleeds into the fallen angels theory. It bleeds into, my God, it bleeds all the way into Pizzagate if you really wanted to go that far. So it depends on where you're going with it, because that theory, the underground Earth, the underground cities, the firmament, it you know, it really bleeds into a lot of other stuff. It can bleed into other stuff.
Was the theory of the hollow Earth goes the theory of the hollow Earth does go way back, but it was really brought back to life in like 1740, according to what I'm reading, and it had said that that's when they really started to kind of, well, the sciences were really coming to be at that time again, coming back to life. But there's like Celtic mythology, ancient Greek mythology. There's, you know, there's Indian, not the feather philosophy about the same thing. So, you know, I'm not sure. Like, I want to find out really quick. So, flat Earth theory origin, because I'm curious, where did that come from? You know, did someone just one day wake the fuck up and say, "Hey, I think the world is flat"? I mean,
no, I mean,
I'm not talking about from back in the day when they thought it was flat.
Well, I mean,
yeah, it goes back to prior to Copernicus and all of it.
Right. Well, if you go back, I'm looking right now. If you go back to 2018, there was an astronomer that defended flat Earth. So Yal Nadsey, I can't say his name very well, but there's a Flat Earth Society that's been going on since 1956. The person who took it over in 1972, of course, was from California. Of course. But
of course, it was from California, right? Exactly.
So, members of the Flat Earth Society.
So this is interesting. I just found something that said, go on.
It says members of the Flat Earth Society and other flat earthers claim that NASA and other government agencies conspire to fabricate evidence that the Earth is spherical, which is really funny, because basically conspiracy theorists are calling a whole, which who knows? You know, who really knows?
So it says also, I just read here in the Quran, God spread the earth flat as a carpet, began the creation of man from clay, and created the heavens and earth in 6 days. So
Interesting.
this is interesting. I think it's also there's this, like when people say, okay, God created the heavens and earth in 6 days. Okay, 7 days total, and rested on the seventh day. So, and then you go and you say, okay, well, the age of the earth is only 6,000 years old. Okay. This is contrary to a lot of science, just based on some of the science stuff that we know. However, what I don't think we take into account is how long, like, the breath of God is actually. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
like, according to the Indian philosophy, Brahma, or the breath of God, I think it's like a 100,000 years is an inhale, and then there's a 20,000 year pause, and then a 100,000 year exhale. So one complete breath is 220,000 years. One breath. So how many breaths does God the Creator take in 7 days? This is to, like, normal people. To wrap the concepts of hundreds of thousands, millions, or billions of years to simple people is kind of difficult to say. But at the same time, when you say, okay, so if the earth is, like, is it easier just to explain to people that the earth is flat? That you just, because, like, you tell a man to create a house or a city, he's going to be like, all right, let me level that land. I'm going to build with some block and build up a house and build a city. And I'm going to base it on a foundation that's flat and strong. But do you say, oh, well, the whole thing is flat then, let's just assume that it is? And they had to get it from somewhere, because until they came along and said the earth is round, everyone did was flat. So where did that come from? There's still no. Who started the flat earth conspiracy theory? Let's see. Flat earth conspiracy theory is spreading around the globe. God,
I'm
willing
looking
to
right now. I'm
believe it.
looking right now at the
I
book
mean,
of
does that
Enoch.
mean that James? I love that book. The Book of Enoch is amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. 18:5, and I said to the Grigori, I saw your brethren in their works and their great torments, and I prayed for them. But the Lord has condemned them to be under earth till the existing heaven and earth shall end forever and ever. I'm telling you.
Well,
It
Enoch
doesn't
was,
say anywhere
if you read the
where.
story of Enoch was what? He was taken, and he even talks about being in a craft and taken by God. And he describes, like, all of the people who were in the craft, and each one was responsible for a specific element or a task, whether that's like astrology, astronomy, whatever it is. They all had, and he knew their names. It should be noted too that Enoch is the only book of the Bible written in first person. He wrote it. I was there. I said this. I did that.
That's not true. Revelations is written in first person, isn't it?
But Revelation is not. Well, Revelation, though, is an interpretation. Revelation was written by, was it John of Patmos, the one that was sent to the island and went nuts?
Yeah,
the one that was banished to the island and went nuts. I think it was John of Patmos. I don't know.
It's written in first person. When the land
It
opened
is
the
written in
seven
first person,
seals,
but it's
the
also
silence. Then I saw the seven angels who stand before God, and seven trumpets were given to them. He writes it in first person. John does.
John does, but he's not talking about event. He's
talking
speaking
about himself.
Of prophecy.
No, he's talking about
he's speaking
himself.
Of prophecy.
It's a vision that he had. He's not speaking
that
of
he
prophecy.
had, right?
He was taken.
Well, that is prophecy.
Just
If you're
like
speaking of vision.
Enoch.
You think
Just
he was
like
actually
Enoch.
taken? Enoch, I think, was actually taken, like picked up and taken.
I think that John was also
some really
picked up
crazy
and taken,
shit, but it's not.
Enoch had to come back because otherwise we wouldn't have the Book of Enoch. So I think John and Enoch were both taken and put
Maybe.
back.
It's possible.
I think John was as well.
It's possible. Definitely. Let's see. I'm reading something here. It says, what is the flat earth model? No theory was tabled at the conference along with the Bible-based snow globe model seemed to be the most popular sentiment. The plane of our existence is stationary, floating in an ocean as we do above. The plane is surrounded by a firmament, the snow globe, which protects us from another body of water above, which then separates us from the celestial plane. Okay, so it's multi-layered then. Maybe they both have it right at some level. Maybe someone's saying, all right, when they talk about the flat earth, they're talking about there's more than one firmament. Maybe there is more than
Maybe,
one below, as so below, as above, so below.
Because of gravity. Since water is always level, how come we're not underwater for a period of time? Gravity.
Right.
Gravity. Simple answer. I do not. Again, I stand with my original. The Earth is not necessarily round, but kind of an oblong blob, spinning and spinning and going around the sun. The firmament is under the water.
So here,
that's my opinion.
Yeah,
because that's what I've been taught.
Sure.
It's spinning this way. It's spinning around the sun. It's also spinning like this, which is why we have climate change, because it's spinning at an angle like this. So over the course of time, summer will be winter and winter will be summer.
It will be. It's called precession. Yeah. The earth wobbles as it spins. It's not a nice clean spin. It's a wobble. And sometimes that gets worse. In fact, the moon is said to stabilize that wobble. And if it wasn't there, then we would have rapid wobbling as we moved around. So here's an interesting perspective. A guy says, a ball has an ending, right? A ball. You go around the ball and you come back and you're done. There's nothing more to explore. With flat earth, it could be an infinite plane. It could go on forever. We don't know. There could be another land beyond Antarctica. We haven't found out, and they might be hiding that from us. And
there
so
also,
what they're saying is that perhaps that wall
there too.
Right. But so they're saying that the Great Wall divides is just like a great. So I guess walls work.
There's
I guess
no
great ice wall barrier walls work.
There's no Great Wall because people have sailed around Antarctica. People have sailed around Antarctica.
That's the other thing.
The world.
I know.
They did not. People did not.
So Antarctica is seen as a. They claim that Antarctica is seen as a 100-foot tall ice wall that surrounds the outer edge of our disk, right? At least that's part of the theory. It's never been proven because Antarctica is unchartable. Really? That's the reason Nate Thompson pointed to. For the edge existing as an assumption in models, he's quick to turn to the argument on doubters. So he's basically saying is that it's almost like a prison. That the big wall just holds us from other lands. That the flat part is not, when they image it like dome on it. Okay, just our part. What these guys are saying is that it's not round at all. That it's just a vast, flat, infinite landscape with individual firmaments and ice walls that block us from other existences. So saying the universe to them is an unending, infinite plane of flattening barriers everywhere. I don't know about this. This seems really far-stretched to me.
If it's infinite, then it can't have a barrier. We're dealing with electromagnetism.
Barriers in between, not barriers at the.
elec-
No, wait, not barriers at its
There's
ends.
no.
Barriers in between.
Why? Why would there be barriers?
You're done.
And why would they suddenly be
To lock off lands from each other.
Yeah, and
To lock off
why would
lands
they
from
tell
each
us
other.
it was brown?
I'm
Because it's
just.
fun. It doesn't make
I
sense
know,
to me. So
right.
I have somebody saying we are dealing with electromagnetism, not gravity. Okay, I'll accept that my scientific knowledge ends there. I'm thinking still gravity is what sucks it to the earth, but maybe it's electromagnetism. Somebody says pour water on an unlevel surface, it still finds its level point, so gravity would not explain it. Really? How do you explain waves? You guys lack imagination. There's research that concludes there's additional land. Yes, there is, because if you go past Antarctica, you end up on another continent. Barriers are realms. Oh, okay, now we're getting
Antarctica.
into a whole dimensional thing. I would accept that more than I will accept that there's an infinite plane and there's randomly an ice barrier around us. And by this time, with the amount of, I'm just going to say it right now. This is probably going to offend some people. But with the amount of enormous egos the men and women of this planet have, there's no possible way that somebody would have not have taken groups and groups of people to the end of this Antarctica ice wall and tried to crash through it. It's just not a possibility in the realm of possibilities with the amount of incredible.
I mean, they want to have. They're trying to round up money to create some kind of a reality show to try to take them to the edge of the world and go beyond it. I'm like, hell, you should do that. I'd probably watch you do that shit. I would watch you do that. I want to watch you go past Antarctica and sail around the world. Yeah.
But you'd have to prove it to me that it wasn't CGI, because everything's CGI now. I mean, I could have come on this show tonight dressed as Whoopi Goldberg and you wouldn't know the difference, because there's an app for that.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, you know, if I want to be Jabba the Hutt, I mean, Whoopi Goldberg, I could do that.
I used to really like her. Just
I don't know what happened to her.
You know, I'm like a Star Trekkie, you know, and a Star Wars guy. I don't know what happened to her. I think they've been secretly pumping Kool-Aid into her house in lieu of water for a very long time now. She's just gone off the fucking deep end. I used to love her. I mean, movies like Jumpin' Jack Flash, things. She was so funny.
She sold her soul just like everybody else did to get all that money, and you know, here she is. The only thing they have left that they can do with her is put her on The View and have her pushing the narrative. That's it.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's the only job she's got. She's not going to get any movies, so this is it. She's got her paycheck.
Because there's really,
but
after a certain point, I mean, big tangent, but after a certain point, there's not going to be any Hollywood in any movies. It's all going to that's all going to have to be refreshed and pushed out too. And get back to regular, you know. But we'll that's a subject for a different show.
For a different show. Let's see. I was reading that. So, who started the flat Earth theory? What is the flat Earth theory? Because I saw a book claiming that the Earth was in fact flat, and he cited biblical scripture and fudged a mathematical formulae and faulty experiments designed to support da 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 da. And that 10,000 years ago, dinosaurs and humans were roaming the Earth together. So it says that the flat Earth arguments began. Well, there are weird things like that. You know, there are human footprints and dinosaur prints that are side by side. So I'm not saying maybe we might not have been there. I think they were around a lot longer than we think.
I found a video today it was a film. I found a video today that was a film taken supposedly 30 years ago of a dinosaur, not a T-Rex or freaking giant brontosauruses, but a little ostrich-like dinosaur. It's on YouTube. There's It's there. And it looks pretty real. I
Yeah.
mean, it could be false, but it looks pretty real. Sissy says that the Jesuits were the first to say
I
the
always
earth
look
was
at it.
round.
Earth was round
That's what she
or
says.
flat?
Yeah, they were the first to say the earth was round. And she's pretty
Okay.
smart about this stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. Again, it's interesting that. Go on.
I'm looking through some lost books of the Bible to see if I can find anything while you're doing that. Because I have a ton of that stuff on here.
Let's see, but a minute. Right. Let's see. So it says also. Let's see. Let's see. What makes it? Why is there such a current? I honestly believe it's because okay, look, there's so many things that science has become so political in the last 40 years that it makes sense that ancient theories, fables, ideas are kind of would make some kind of a rebound. I'm trying to find out, they try to keep saying that this is an old concept, but it keeps coming back. And it also, like in some of the stuff that I'm looking at right now, really coincides with the hollow earth theory. Like a lot of this stuff like combines together. Because you look at the stories, it was Admiral Byrd's Antarctic expedition. When this is the guy that went down to do a lot of testing to see if he could get, because there's a lot of odd things that happen. So apparently there are neutrinos now, they know, are emanating from the poles of our planet. And they thought that these were randoms, but they're not. They're actually emanating from the poles of the planet. They thought that was weird. So I think a lot of odd things happen at both poles of the planet. It's also the weakest point of our magnetosphere, which is the shield that protects us from the sun's cosmic rays from the sun. So it's not. I guess it wouldn't be unusual to see and observe unusual things at the poles. I just think that a lot of this stuff is just kind of mishmashed bullshit. But at the same time, I'm open to the understanding that it's possible. I'm open to a hollow earth theory, that there is pockets of protected areas in the planet that are habitable. I can see that. In fact, I think that might be a common thing on other worlds that might not have an atmosphere on top like we have here, but they've got something that's more livable within. So I think the inner hollow earth theory is more sound than the flat earth theory. I think that there's more room, scientific room for it.
I've got somebody in here that says the earth is stationary. And again, we'll go back to our original question that we asked when we first started this show. If it's stationary, where is it stationary? Where?
Right.
Where is it?
Right. Well, the
Where
first thing I read
Earth?
said that it's contained in an ocean, but that's just what ocean then? Atlantis?
Right.
I mean, what are we talking about? If that's the case, then where is it? I mean, tell me, are we all sitting like an experiment on someone's desk? Is that what this is?
Honestly,
mighty
I'm still
big
going
fucking
back
desk.
to my firmament. The firmament is underwater, and I'm going to guess all the things we've been searching the earth for, like the Garden of Eden and all that. In the bottom. I have the Bible open at this very moment. Literally, here it is. So, nowhere in here does it say that the earth is stationary. I also have the conflict of Adam and Eve with Satan over here, which talks a lot about water. So,
Well, water being the giver of life. I mean, there is no life without water. Almost everything and every story that we hear about contains some
actually,
aspect of water.
listen to this. Then God said to Adam, while you were under my command and were a bright angel, you knew not this water. Now, remember, I have told you before that we are equal to Satan and the fallen angels. We are equal. And the reason we're equal is because we were also angels. They don't want us to know that. But it says here, but now that you have transgressed my commandment, you cannot do without water, wherein to wash your body and make it grow, for it is now like that of beast and is in want of water. So water, the need of water, according to this book, comes from the transgression of eating I'm guessing of eating the apple or the fruit. There's lots of flat earth. There's flat earthers in mine that are assuming are trying to assert that they have proofs. And
There's
I
no,
still,
they can't, there, so again,
there's no
short
proof.
of sailing to the edge and looking over the edge, there's no proof. And
Mhm.
here's the thing too, and they can all, everyone says, oh, okay, conspiracy, they're all, NASA's just feeding us CGI bullshit, which I'm not going to say is not true with some things. I think they do that.
Yeah, it could be.
But they're feeding us this, they're feeding us that. Like recently we launched the James Webb Space Telescope. This thing is going to make the Hubble telescope look like a fucking kid's, little monocular thing. So it's going to make it just insane with it. This thing had to fly 1,000,000 miles out, and it's at a Lagrange point between that it's just the most amazing piece of technology that these guys have spent $10 billion on, and they've flown it and they've placed it at this point where it's going to follow the Earth's orbit exactly around the sun, so that it creates the Earth's shadow will create a shadow. So it's always in a dark point of space, and it's going to get ready to send us some incredible images from the universe. Now, am I to believe, flat earthers will believe that none of that stuff's happening? Nothing that Elon Musk is sending up is happening. Nothing. All of this stuff is bullshit, guys. Like all of it. All the millions of dollars being spent
Yeah.
on rockets that are flying into space and turning around and
Mhm.
coming back and landing Buck Rogers style. All of that shit's just bullshit for just show. I mean, really? What about all the people that actually go watch these things go up and turn around and come back and land?
And then
That's
if
just bullshit
you
too.
don't agree with them, we've all been indoctrinated since childhood, and we don't know any better because we're not thinking about it.
I don't. I just don't buy
and the
that.
rockets go nowhere. They just go up they just poof away.
They poof away. So what we're seeing come back and land. See, now you might even be able to make that argument with rockets, because when they went up before in the past, they came down elsewhere. You never saw the parts come down at all. They mostly landed in the ocean. There's big giant, like Saturn V rockets. There's giant stuff from the 60s and 70s, and there's big ones, Those all just dropped back in the ocean, and they only show you footage of that. Okay, fair enough. You might make the argument that that's bullshit. Okay, I get it. But now you've got Elon Musk, who is of SpaceX, which has got rockets that are taking off with cameras everywhere. You see not 1 minute of this launch and landing are you not fucking seeing. And you can stand out there and watch these things come back and land at the exact same place that they took off. That's remarkable. Well, they come back and they're like, and they fucking land, and you're like, what the fuck is that shit? What are you trying to tell me? That it's missing a part because it's only the engine that's coming back and landing. So what are we talking about here? This is a real elaborate ruse. It's a real elaborate ruse. If we're to believe that everything is flat and it's just bullshit. And again, there are too many things. They've got way too many things to show us that the Earth is round and not flat. and these guys are just trying to make experiments, have some random experiments to show that I have a hard time with it. And you know what it does? It just emphasizes my need and my want to go to space. If that shit was affordable and I had the money, I would like put me on a fucking rocket. I want to go check this shit out. I just want to see it. I want to see the curvature of the earth. I want to see it against a midnight fucking background. I want a sky and stars. That would be dope. And then I would be
And
good.
then I've got somebody over here repeat mine. Wants me to go on Cambo Facebook. Well, guess what? I'm on Facebook right now. And I don't find you, Mr. Cambo.
What is he saying?
He wants me to go on Facebook and look at him because he swears that he has evidence that the earth is flat. So
What's his name? Cambo? C-A-M-B-O?
K-A-M-B-O.
Of course it is.
And I'm looking him up and I don't find anybody on here. There's Cambos, but nobody spelled like two words.
Cambo
like
Slice, Cambo Reboot, Cambo Shift, Cambo
Mhm.
Medicine. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Yep.
Oh, here is just a Cambo. What is this? But this has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
That's kind of, he's got to give you more than that because there's no way we can search.
Yeah, there's no. Sorry.
He's got to give you
I
something.
tried to.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Listen,
the Flat Earth Society's got a page here.
I will tell you right now, I did a meditation this morning. It was very enlightening. And while I was in the meditation, I said, "Is the earth flat?" And the voice said, "No." So take that for whatever it is. I don't care.
Say something. Yeah. I want to read something to you really quick. I just found this is funny. This is from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Of course it is.
Okay. Of course it is.
She's the gun toter, Of course it is. And she says, and I don't know why this is on the Flat Earth Society, but it says this: there are only two genders. Having to explain there are only two genders is like explaining to the flat earthers that the earth is actually round. Science is hard for.
Excuse me, I was not talking to Satan. I invoked protection from God and Jesus and the angels before I went into my meditation.
Oh my God.
In order to avoid talking to Satan or demons. So you can throw that right out the window. And I don't do channeling.
Answering someone in your feet.
Yeah,
that's what you do. You invoke for protection.
You're talking to Satan.
No, you invoke for protection,
so,
the guys.
Luck.
That's all you have to do. You have the ability to invoke for protection before you go into a meditative state, and I highly recommend that you do before you do anything. I mean, it's very important. If you don't do that, you're opening up a channel, and it's a two-way street. So you're gonna get some shit if you're not careful. This Flat Earth Society web.
Not only do I know that it was not Satan, because as I was in my meditation, some bad entities were trying to push through and come in. And I had to push them away.
Mm-hmm.
So good luck. I'm not new
They're
here.
probably saying the earth is flat, Carol.
Yeah.
The earth is flat.
The firmament is underneath the water. No, shining.
Man threatened to kill friend and father with crossbow over bet about whether or not the earth is flat. Did you hear that?
That is ridiculous.
Did you hear that?
That is craziness.
I don't know, guys. It's a great idea, I suppose, but if indeed, so here's a photo, and it's a picture of this like Japanimation character with her hands like this, and she's holding. Finally, now I know where the flat Earth is. She's holding it. like this. I wish I could show you, but if I turn my computer around, it's just gonna disappear. But it is an image of someone holding the flat Earth. Now I get it. Now I know where we are. We're being held in someone's hands.
I have another.
There
I
you
have
go.
another. I have another follower
There's
that
your
says
answer.
it's on. I have another follower that says it's on pedestals, and which is I said that's fine, but if it's on pedestals, it has to be sitting
Where are
on
the
something.
pedestals then?
What is it sitting on?
Uh-huh.
What are the pedestals sitting
Where
on?
are the pedestals then?
There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with meditation.
Okay, fine. I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I if you can tell me
I
where said flat Earth is and where these four corners of the Earth is that make it square and where these pedestals are that it's sitting on, if you can tell me where that is, I'm with you.
then I'm a little more on board than I was before. A little bit. Just explain to me where it is. I mean, even if you said, all right, it's in the vastness of infinite space with God and everyone, and it's like on some magic desk with billions of other versions of the same thing. Okay, I might, but just tell me that. Where are we? I mean, because if you tell me that a disc is floating in space with a half dome on it, sorry, there are physics on this planet that prove that that is not possible. So you're just the only thing. Do you know? Here's something. Do you know when you blow a soap bubble? When you blow, when you blow bubbles. When we were kids, we blow bubbles. Do you know why the soap makes a round bubble?
No, I never bothered.
Oh, this is something I saw on the Discovery Channel. Why round? Why round? It's because it's the most stable form that the molecules can assemble when you blow the bubble. And something that's round is stable, which is why we find natural round things in our universe. You see round things all over our planet as well. It's a stable structure, and it's a strong structure as well. And it's how gravity likes things forms in clumps round. Even asteroids at some level, although clunky, are somewhat round. They're not square. We don't find square shit in nature. You don't find blocks of rocks. You find round-ish rocks. Nothing is quite square. That's something that indicates
they're not
it's been
actually
made.
round. I mean, round is a two-dimensional. So you're talking about spherical, which is the three-dimensional format.
Yeah, round
and
spherical.
There is actually 4D and 5D onward and upward of these shapes, by the way. Have you ever heard of the tetra? Shoot, what's it called? Anyway, there's this tetra something cube. It's basically unfathomable. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So, and here we have God is vast beyond. We can't comprehend where the Earth is. Well, if you can't comprehend where the Earth is, then you can't comprehend what the Earth is. Because in order for something
where
to
is
exist,
it, guys? Just let us.
Yeah. If it exists physically, it has to exist physically somewhere in some physical form. So if you cannot comprehend where the Earth exists, then you cannot comprehend that the Earth exists at all, because it's either there's not a gray area. I exist in a physical form in this room exactly where I am. Could a fish explain where he lives? Maybe. He might very possibly could.
Right.
I don't know. Do you speak fish language? Because I don't.
Well,
I speak
no.
sushi.
I love sushi. It's the one thing
Me too. And there's none of it out here. There's none.
I was gonna say, it's probably gonna be like one of the things, like, even if we end up in Texas or somewhere like that, I'm gonna miss sushi because it's just delicious. God, and we have such good sushi here in LA. It's just good. And it's
Yeah.
just, I'm just the one thing I'm gonna miss. I mean, I can live without it,
California
but
sushi is the
still,
best,
you know.
for sure.
And wait, and another thing, and another thing is too, if the ice barrier goes all the way around and is blocking everything, right? Keeping the water in, keeping everything in. So is what keeps the ice frozen, and does it go all the way down? What's the bowl? Is it an ice bowl? What?
Yeah, there's just
There's
so
so many
many
holes in this.
unexplained.
There's so many holes. Yeah. Look, guys, traditional science tells us that the sun is a great big ball, fusion ball of energy. It is constantly fusing atoms together, nuclei of atoms to create photons and heat. That makes our sun. You can measure that energy. It's a shit ton of energy. So if that's the case, and we live in a dome, a half-ball dome, and the Earth and the moon and the stars are projections of sorts, then where the hell does the heat come from? From the sun. And if you tell me it comes from the projection, fine, but where does the energy from that come from?
Right.
Explain that.
And
Because see, science has been looking for the explanations as to why you go stand out in the sun on this planet and you get warm, and you stand there long enough and guess what? You get burned. So
right.
the amount
So
of
the sun
energy that comes
exists.
from the sun in a day, the sun exists. So if you or something that is the sun exists, but you have to just tell me where the energy for that is coming from. If it's a projection, where's that coming from? If the firmament is a
Many
protective layer,
pilots claim it's
where's
flat
the
and the sun
energy
and
for the
moon are
firmament?
local. So what? If the sun and moon are local, I still want to know where they're coming from.
Wait. The sun is local. It's within the firmament.
Somebody said many pilots claim it's flat and the sun and the moon are local. But if they're local, where are they coming from? Did they do what China just did and make
Okay, well,
a sun?
well,
Because that sun was only
well,
able to
fusion.
last for like 22
Yeah,
seconds or something.
yeah, that's fusion reaction. The fusion reactors are coming. Those are like miniature suns. Not quite the same, but because they don't have the gravity and the pressure
This
that a
person
sun
is saying
does.
the sun and the moon are in the firmament.
Yeah, okay, sorry guys. Now you've lost me. If the sun and the moon are within the firmament, then we should be able to fly to the sun.
Correct.
Let's fly to
And to the moon.
If
So
you can send a rocket up and bounce it off the firmament, then let's fly to the sun, because that's what I want to see. If that's the case. And if it's some flat disk, but it still doesn't answer, even if it is, where is the energy coming from? See, when we talk about our sun, which by the way is local as well, it's local in our own solar system. It's local compared to other things, all right, even though it's
right.
millions of miles away. We can explain where the energy comes from based on what it's doing. It's a compressed ball of hydrogen that is basically fusion reactions are creating heat and light. Okay, great. That's what it's doing. So that's where its energy source comes from. I want to know three things. Where are we in the universe if we are on a flat Earth? It's where our location. Where's the flat disk and the dome sitting? Second thing, where's the energy coming from in order to create the barrier that is protective? That has to be a barrier of energy of some sort. If you bounce off something that's clear, that's like a force shield. So what is creating that? And then where is the even more energy coming from the sun? Because the amount of light, it's measurable. And they know, so regardless of where you think the sun is, whether it's in the firmament or in the middle of our solar system, it sends us enough energy in a day, if you could harness every photon, to power humanity for 100 years. So that's a shit ton of fucking energy.
Okay. Well, listen.
And if it's a flat disk just flying around in the firmament, yeah.
The person is answering your questions in here.
Oh, sorry, I can't see that.
Talking about electromagnetism keeps it moving. But the answer that I'm getting is in the infinite void, no location. So we're just floating around in an infinite void with no rhyme, no reason, no probability, nothing. I asked if the moon and the sun are inside the firmament, then it takes away your we didn't land on the moon theory, because it would be too easy to land on the moon if it was in the firmament. and we would be able to fly through the sun,
Why
or
can't
at
we just
least
fly to
send
it?
something through the sun. So yeah, I call BS on that whole thing.
I call BS because you've seen that. Have you seen that video where the guy sends up the rocket and he says it just bounced off the firmament and then it spins down? It doesn't quite make
Yep.
it. Okay, we've seen that video. We've all seen it. Okay,
Mhm.
if that's the case, great. Let's fly one towards the sun. And let's
The
it
moon
bounce off the
landing-
freaking sun then.
You're going to sit here and tell me the moon is inside the firmament, but then that the moon landing is a hoax? If the moon is inside the firmament, why we should easily be able to land on the moon?
Right. That's easier than
If it-
traveling to where it's supposed to be, which is 200,000 miles away.
Yeah. I mean, we should just be able to fly right up there because the atmosphere.
Are they saying that? Okay, so I think, let me just tangent on that. Are they saying that it's within the firmament, but it's flat, like a projection moving? Or is it actual
I have no
sun
idea.
and moon as balls inside? Because what
I
are
don't
we
know.
saying?
I don't know, but we're
I don't either.
at 8:00 now, so
We're 1 minute over. All right,
I'm
guys.
gonna say this.
It's been interesting.
I'm gonna
Okay.
say this in the ending. Conspiracy theories are cool, but don't get so lost in your conspiracy theories that you don't know where you are anymore and your critical thinking has gone out the window.
I would agree with that.
Because
You got to be careful.
are overriding your own theories now. You have to make sure that they are all in line with each other. I'm not being insulting. I'm being forward, and that's what we do here. Do not get lost in your conspiracy theories. Make sure they all line up with each other.
And not everything is a conspiracy.
Right.
I know it feels that way, but not everything is. Accept some things for what they are. You'll be more comfortable with yourself in your world.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Sounds good, eh? Huh? I'm gonna go get into my flat. I'm gonna go and take a shower, then I'm gonna get into my flat bed. and get some sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty, it was a good show. Want to remind everybody we're here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern every Wednesday. And Carol, I think we're up on YouTube as well, right?
First 2 episodes are up on YouTube. We'll be getting the 3rd one up probably within the week, and maybe the 4th one too.
Yeah, I'll get them both.
This was episode 4.
All right, guys. This is episode 4. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Good night, guys.